Pula vinaka talafalava malalei, guys, and welcome back to the Nesian Money Show. Today we've got a very a musical guest, eventful guest, you could say. It's an honor to have him here and for him to take his time out to be able to grace us with his knowledge. Nick Toth, welcome to the show, and I think Izzy's going to speak a little bit more about you and just explain to the audience.
Welcome, Nick. I guess this has been a long time coming. We've always had our conversation, but I guess for the audience, we've known each other for a while now, being neighbours first of all. Before I knew what you...
I'm still traumatized.
Very quiet neighbour. But yeah, from there, obviously we became friends, and it was really great to have you here and to get you on the podcast to come share some of your knowledge and Thank you so much.
In our community, Nick, creativity and, the Pacific Islanders, music and art are their strengths, but, sometimes monetizing it and making it a career is another side of it where we sort of maybe, it's a difficult industry in general, but just to maybe pick your brains and to give an insight to our audience to say, oh, maybe this is a way I could, because you've been in it for, over 25 years from what I gather, and you'd have a lot of knowledge and experience there that, will be useful to a lot of the young Pacific Island artists and creators and event managers and producers. Music's a big thing within our community, so it's sort of like...
For sure.
To have someone like you who's on the other side, it's really a pleasure and an honor.
No, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here. This looks amazing. I feel like I'm already I'm on the island. I love it.
Beautiful.
That's great. No, it's been a long time coming, and thanks for your patience. And now we're here.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Right, first off, the rank. Can you tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your early experience, and the influence of your passion to music and entertainment?
Yeah, so I'm from Austria, a small country in the middle of Europe. You probably don't know many other Austrians.
Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is that always fun?
Very good. Very good. I like to hear that. There's a few others you could name, but that's a good one. I'll take that. That's a successful one, a positive one.
Two now.
But I meant in person. You probably don't know many other Austrians. So we're very small. We're one of the tiniest communities. And I grew up in Europe. I came to Australia about 25 years ago. And I was listening to the radio like you do as a kid, and I guess sometime in the 80s, as 10 years old, and I heard this music, and it was kind of like, it wasn't really singing, it was kind of just talking, and I think it was The Message by Grandmaster Flash or something like, don't push me, because I'm like, wow, it sounded so different, and I was just fascinated. I didn't even understand what they were saying, and it was just like, I want more of this. And so that was the first song that stuck in my mind. That was just so like, I need to know more about this, whatever that is. And the next one was Bob Marley, actually. Yeah. And again, I knew very little. I could barely understand what he was singing. And again, it was just this, I love this vibe. I need to know more. And so this kind of music, reggae, hip hop, black music in Europe is actually huge. It's actually massive.
Yeah.
And not many people here probably know this, but some of the biggest reggae festivals actually happen in Germany, in Italy, in Spain. 60, 70,000 people go to these things over a whole weekend. So this music is quite big over there. And when I moved here, it was kind of like, it's not that big, really. People knew about hip hop at the time. Aussie hip hop was just coming on, and reggae really wasn't much until my friend Joe, who's from Tonga originally. He had a record store called Anthem Records, so big up to Joe. He introduced me to the reggae music from the South Pacific, which of course I didn't know anything about, and he gave me a George Veikoso CD, one of his first CDs. Wow. And I was like, this sounds amazing. Why is this guy not huge? His voice and his songwriting was amazing. The beats I thought they needed a little bit of help still. I thought it was like, okay, but the songs themselves were amazing. So anyways, that's a really super short version. I came here to Australia, having had a background in DJing and events in Europe, and then continued doing it here with the hip hop scene, and then also with Caribbean music, reggae and all of those.
Oh, wow. So in Austria, is English the main language?
No, we speak German, but everyone speaks English pretty much. We learn at school, French as well.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We have to.
Why do you think it took off, the reggae scene over there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, first of all types of, I guess, Afro-diasporic music, so black music from the States, jazz, soul, blues, has always been massive in Europe. But also African music of different, West African, Southern African. Well, I mean, we're closer geographically, and there's also a larger population of African and Caribbean people, especially in France, in England, from the former colonies. So I think it's just a lot more present, There's a lot more awareness of the music and the culture than here, sadly. I have to say. I mean, it's getting better.
Yeah.
With hip hop, of course, it's huge, but with the reggae stuff, it's still, Okay, I'll give you a little anecdote from 20 years ago. I had a good friend of mine, still a friend of mine today, who was Jamaican Canadian, and we went to this festival called Pacifica, I think it was called, right? And it was in the city, I think, Tumbalong Park, right? And it was all these different performers. We didn't know anything, honestly. We couldn't differentiate between the different cultures, but there was a clear undercurrent of, as you said, musicality and I should say culture, a very strong cultural identity that came through in those performances. And K-Note, that's the Jamaican Canadian guy. He was like, man, without those guys, this country just would have no soul. And I was like, okay, yeah, I know what you mean. He meant, it's just rock music and dance music, and but this kind of the soul angle, I think that's really from that part of the world that came in, and we're lucky to have it here. I think.
So were you a DJ back in Austria?
I was.
Oh, and then you came here and you just continued on.
Correct. I was producing some music as well back home, and continued here. Went to uni here, and just connected with mainly the Aussie hip hop scene at the time. It was still very in the very beginning, very early, and then just started doing events as well.
Did you have to study at uni? When you said you went to uni?
Yes, I did. I did communications and marketing at UTS.
Yes.
And from then just did more events and.
Does that match the musical, the qualification? Is it?
I think it was very useful for marketing, definitely. There were some very useful elements in there, and music production. I did some software, Pro Tools, and all this kind of stuff. We did as well. Yeah. So it definitely was. Look, I don't think you have to study anything, but it's definitely very useful, especially as a first step. So I would say to anyone listening who is interested, I think that the most important aspect is to really invest in yourself, and that's in your education. Today you can get lots of free education. You can watch, various tutorials. Careful with those TikTok, financial advice videos. Yes. Careful with those, man. But there's stuff like Udemy, where it's actually structured courses that are very cheap or free, and you can actually get a really good idea of whatever it is, marketing. Music production and so forth. And there's also, there's TAFE as well. You don't have to go to full uni degree, but investing in yourself, in your education, no one can take that. Yeah. No one can take that away from you. And that's, for me, that was very helpful, especially I didn't know anyone here, so I got to know some people in the scene.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Did you have any, I guess, when you're going through uni, did you have any Pacific Islander connection through there? Other than the what's his name? John from the Joe from the.
Definitely, Joe was opened my eyes to Fiji and all kinds of other artists. But that was the first one he showed me, because he knew I was into reggae. I started working with MC Trey very early on in the 90s. So that was definitely one of my first good friends.
She's Fijian, or she is?
Yes. Thelma.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
No, she's has a thing out at Mount Druitt, yeah.
Oh,
Or the program
she's
everywhere.
extremely
Yeah.
involved in her community. She's extremely involved in lots of amazing projects.
Yeah.
As an artist, but also as I don't want to misrepresent her now, but as an activist or as
Yeah.
as someone who's really involved in her community and doing amazing programs
Yeah.
and it goes back to Fiji as well.
Yeah. So how did you get involved in the Pacific community? Like, what was the connection there, and how did it all come
honestly,
about?
it was really the music. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. It was
Yeah.
sort of just happened gradually because in 2010, actually, so yeah, that's not almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Joe and I started in January 2010. We started a nightclub, a night at a club
Yeah.
called Jam Rock, and that was basically a reggae club, a weekly reggae club.
Yeah.
And we just said, hey, we play reggae, come along. And there were people from all over the world, which is the wonderful thing with music, especially that kind of music, whether you're from Brazil, or you're from Samoa, or you're from Germany, or you're from, Sydney, Japan, you like the music, you come and everyone has a good time together. And so we definitely had quite a few people from the Pacific Islands, various islands, I mean, very diverse. I mean, from I know it's not exactly the same, but East Timor to Papua New Guinea to Fiji, we had very interesting mix of people, and then we basically started touring reggae artists. So we said, okay, we can bring some Jamaican reggae artists, but there are a lot of people here that like their Pacific reggae artists. So we would started to combine Pacific reggae artists with Jamaican reggae artists to capture both of those markets together. You see what I mean? That was kind of Joe's whole thing in a way, really his concept. And we toured J Boog in 2010, and then we combined it with Luki D. We did Peter Morgan from Morgan Heritage. We did Fiji twice. What's his name? Spawn Breezy, Luki D. I'm probably forgetting a bunch.
Those are some big names.
Yeah,
Man.
huge names,
Those are some big names.
And it was really through those tours, and I was usually the tour manager as well, So I was, we didn't have the budget for tour managers. I was like, okay, I'm going to tour manage. And so I spent a lot of time with these artists, whether they're Hawaiian or Fijian or whatnot, going around the country, and they would have, they would connect with their community. They would do the hangi, thing,
nice.
and we would go, in Brisbane and Gold Coast, Perth, all over the place. And so it was really, to me, it was like a whole new world that was shown to me, and it was wonderful, really.
Yeah. How does it work to bring an artist over? So how does that process?
So
what's the
generally the sort of industry standard would be you identify an act or an artist that you think has a strong enough following, so whoever that might be, So you might say, okay, this artist here, we think we can sell 300 tickets or 500 tickets at X ticket price per city, and then you work out your overheads, flights, how many people traveling, say it's 3 people traveling, from Hawaii or something, and then so musicians, maybe it's a full band, that's more expensive, right? So you do your budget and you work out roughly how much you can offer the artist. So then you get in contact with the agent or the manager, depending what who you have. Most larger artists have agents, smaller ones will have a manager. And then you say, okay, we can offer you this for the tour. So it might be 5 shows and X amount for the whole tour, plus flights, accommodation, and so forth. So you have to cover all expenses, and then you have to obviously offer them a performance fee on top of that. And then you start the negotiation. And if you can arrive at a figure that is mutually acceptable, then you will do the tour. Obviously, you have to get visas done as well, and
so it's a lot of organizing.
So you basically take the risk. It's a high risk kind of thing, and so that's why it's very easy to lose a lot of money in this. It's not that easy to make a profit, but it is possible. And so you have to be very careful. You have to be very precise in your budgeting, and also realistic. Thinking, hey, I love George Veikoso or whatever, but I don't think we're gonna get 10,000 people per show. We might get 1,000 people per show. So you do the numbers with a more realistic figure,
Yeah.
which is sometimes difficult to work out. But now with technology, Spotify, Instagram, and so forth, we can. There's ways, there's paid services that we can see the streams per city, or the fans of, say, George Veikoso
Wow.
per country and per city.
Yeah.
So we can work out, but with
Yeah.
benchmarking
See how much,
to see okay, this artist is actually really big here.
Yeah.
This person not so big, you know. So
How
that's
good.
yeah.
That's awesome. Technology.
So going back, what's the difference between the manager and the agent?
Yeah. So again, in a sort of industry standard, a manager is basically another member of a band. So a manager is usually, you have a band or an act, and the manager is usually just the manager of this one act or band. It may be one other band, but it's usually he or she is another member of the band. So say there's 5 musicians, number 6 is the manager. Say they would share everything, evenly. So now it's split by 6, six parts, right? The agent will often have many artists on their roster. So way more than one, So there's some very large agencies like William Morris or Creative Arts, and they look after hundreds and hundreds of, actors, comedians, athletes, various celebrities, that kind of stuff. And these large agencies have many agents that work for them, So if you want to book, a really huge act, Snoop Dogg or something, you have to go through one of those agencies.
Yeah, okay, so they have a bigger agent, that's got all the acts.
That's right. Huge rosters you can see online and stuff.
Just go through their list.
And they will usually take a much smaller percentage relatively. So the manager works closely with the artist. They develop them. They really, they have often not necessarily creative input, but in the direction of the band, or the group. Whereas the agent is a lot more hands off and just goes, okay, I charge a 10% agency fee or something like that,
Yeah.
That's it.
So the agent makes all the calls and does all the organizing.
Correct. So if we decide we want to tour Snoop for some reason, then we would make that send an email and all this kind of stuff, and then they would do the negotiation, and they usually hold the deposit in escrow as well. So they will hold it for the artist and then release it later.
How was that transition from just going, okay, I'm just going to DJ now, and then going into events and promotion?
That's a good question, Izzy. I'm glad you asked. It's because I'm a little bit stubborn, and I just kind of thought to myself, I don't want to play tracks that I don't like. I don't want to play cheesy music for whatever. I just want to stick to what I'm really into, and there weren't really any events that would specialize in the stuff that I was into, which was in that case Caribbean music, reggae, dancehall, and this kind of stuff, So I got together with some friends and said, let's just do those events. I'm sure if we like it, I'm sure other people like it too, And so we just did it, and it was a bit of hard work, but it worked out, and we stuck with it for a long time and still doing it now. So I think that's the encouragement that I would give any aspiring artist or DJ or producer, promoter, anyone like that is you don't have to follow what's big. That's already big, So if for example, many rappers who start rapping, I love Eminem, or I love whoever, right? Kendrick Lamar. They start sounding like Kendrick or like Eminem when they first start out. That's okay. You got to start somewhere. But eventually you find your own voice, and that's hard, but that's how you're going to be successful, because Eminem does Eminem really well. You don't have to do it again, So once you find your own voice, then...
Yeah, and I think that's what's unique about our community, right? We're so unique that we all do have a unique sound, and it's like we don't 100%. Have to try to copy anyone because we do have our own sound,
100%.
Yeah.
The thing with some people call it island reggae, refer to reggae music by Polynesian or Pacific artists. To me, it's just reggae. Why make the differentiation? Whatever. You take you take a song by J Boog or by FIJI or whoever it is, and you play it to a Japanese reggae fan. They'll just be like, "I love it."
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where this person is from. So the way that New Zealanders and you know your community, the way you've embraced reggae music, especially, you took the Jamaican spark, but you made something of your own out of it.
Yeah.
And clearly there are some kind of similarities in the vibe and maybe the instrumentation already. There was some parallels, but you definitely took it and then used that to tell your own story.
Yeah. I think the influences are in the Pacific Islands. Bob Marley was huge, you know, like
100%.
I guess everywhere. Like he was probably
100%.
one of the
Massively, yeah.
pioneers. Lucky Dube, you know,
Correct,
these
yeah.
guys.
Correct.
So it does stem from that. Like
It comes from
anyway,
there,
yeah.
but then there is that, you know, if once you find your own voice, you will be unique.
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to do, but you know, you have to try that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So what were some of the early challenges you faced when you got into the sort of the DJ music scene? You know, especially from an income perspective, I guess.
Oh,
and,
of course.
you know.
So I guess the income by my accountant would be described as lumpy.
Yeah.
You know that expression,
Yeah,
lumpy income.
Yeah.
That's kind of how you
I think
would.
it's still lumpy today. I think for most DJs.
Now this is not to discourage
Yes.
anyone. I'm just gonna tell you how I see it.
Yes.
The barrier to entry to be a DJ is lower now than it ever was.
Oh.
20, 25 years ago, it was more difficult. There was less access. Also, at some point, you had to buy records.
Yeah.
You had to buy music.
You had to
pay
carry
for
around
music.
the records
Yeah.
and the crates, hey.
So music wasn't free. What are you talking about? And you couldn't just, you know, use Instagram for a week and amass 20,000 followers by DJing in a bikini, which of course I was gonna do, but then the opportunity wasn't there.
Yeah.
Sadly, I would be much more famous, of course. But it is so it's easier today than ever. And so in many ways it's been a race to the bottom when it comes to fees. And I'm not being negative. I'm just
It's
saying
competitive now. The
how-
industry is competitive. Yeah. Or
It's-
more competitive.
I would say more competitive. There's simply more entrants, you know. There's simply more people doing it. And look, that of course is also a wonderful thing because there shouldn't be a financial hurdle or any kind of barrier. There shouldn't be barriers to creativity. It's just that now it is extremely easy, technically, so to speak, you know, to be a DJ, and that's good and bad. As I said, technology is neutral. It can be great, and also can be a little bit of a race to the bottom. So the overall pay I think is just hasn't really progressed much in a long time.
How does it work with gigs? So you find a club. If you're a DJ, you have an arranged rate. Someone comes and underbids you, like a younger DJ from today. That's got
it probably happens a lot. I'm not sure. For me, it's a little different because my main business is events, so I don't really DJ that much out there. I mean, I DJ at my own events. But I would say that it depends on the arrangement. It can be you build up a profile. So I would recommend any DJ out there or aspiring DJ, think about what would make you unique. Again, don't just go with what's already out there. If you play the same tracks, if you do the same thing as everyone else, well, how can you stand out? So I'll give you an example. DJ Noise, for example, right, is an incredibly creative. Well, he's more than a DJ, producer. And he's created endless re-edits and remixes of all kinds of stuff. American music, Jamaican, South African tracks. I mean, what he's done is pretty amazing. And he's created this profile. So he's now, if you want to book DJ Noise, well, that's not going to be cheap. But he's going to bring a lot of people because they love him and his vibe, So you have to do the work, is what I'm, like in any field. You have to think about what can I bring, what kind of value can I bring that makes me unique and interesting, and whatever that is. Maybe to some people it's DJing in a bikini, to others is doing amazing remixes and re-edits,
How does it work with that when you say they bring a lot of other vibes and with licensing and all that kind of stuff? How does that work for?
Well, we're being recorded, so I'm going to say the proper thing here. Okay, you are not allowed to use anyone's recorded music for anything. will anyone come after you if you just upload that on YouTube or SoundCloud and it's demonetized anyways?
Oh, it's demonetized if you use their music.
Probably gonna be okay, maybe. But once you start selling, licensing, earning income from a piece of music that contains someone else's composition, well, you have to ask them for permission.
Yeah.
Really, you should. And I don't know exactly the arrangements with how DJ Noise started or what is, but often these remixers just go ahead and do a remix.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's many remixes out there that are not really that great anyways, but one or two might blow up.
Yeah.
And then, depending on what happens, the artist might actually be into this because they might go, hey, you know what? We're the South African artist, the South African act, and now we're huge in Samoa.
Oh, yeah. So it's good for them if they
actually is a good thing. So they might come to a very easy arrangement.
Yeah.
If, however, you sample Jay-Z or the Beatles, maybe be a bit careful with that. They may not want that.
Jason Derulo, that Kiwi kid that used Jason Derulo's beat? Or Jason
No, it was the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't want to open that kind of worms of copyright law because there are endless copyright cases.
Yeah, okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of times it's about who's got the better lawyers.
Yeah, so I guess. So can they monetize? So you can't, if they're using remixes, other people's music, you can't monetize it on YouTube or those streaming platforms.
So YouTube will automatically send the royalties to the songwriter, to the IP holder.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
There you
That's
go.
how it works.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works. And it's just an algorithm that goes, Jason Derulo.
Bang.
Not always. And again, I don't know how much.
That's right. Tell me after.
If you change the pitch of the vocals, it might not catch it. If you edit the vocals enough, if you change it enough, it may not. But I'm not the expert in this. Should get DJ Noise on this. He'll tell you all about it. Actually, I would love to hear about that. To be honest.
No, it's interesting because there's so many like you said, technology these days, and it's easy to remix a lot of music and stuff. And a lot of the young ones, they get started and doing that, so that how can they make money from it? Well, we've got to find out how.
Okay, so maybe rather than monetizing the remixes, rather than that, which might be difficult, is they can use them to build their profile.
Yes.
To get out there.
Yeah.
And many producers and famous DJs out in the States and the US started doing sort of unlicensed remixes.
Yes.
And then you go, hey, what's this? Who's this? Oh, it's so-and-so. And then that's how they got their start. Yeah. And then they progressed to actually doing full productions.
Yeah, just get in there and get some work done.
I think so. Just do it. Yeah, just do it.
Can you share with us some of your highlights of your work history, including notable artists or events that you've been involved with?
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a few. I mean, for me, some of my
we got all night, so no, we got like 3 hours.
I don't want to name drop I think for me it's just been amazing being around some really great artists, and this some of my favorite events or favorite tours may not have been the biggest well-known artists. I'm going to mention FIJI again.
Yes.
Because he is really an inspiring artist on different levels. So obviously as a performer, as a songwriter, he wrote many of the big Pacific reggae songs or hits, he worked with J Boog and so forth. He's an amazing live performer, but also, although he's not well and he's, when we toured him a couple of times, there were definitely some health challenges.
Yes.
And he was in pain. But once he gets on stage, it's like, it's just leaves his body and he's just, he gives his audience everything. And I think that was another level of inspiration there going, man.
He's amazing. He's a pioneer. Well, He's one of probably the most famous in the Pacific Islands. I think
really deservedly so. I mean, like I said, I don't even understand why he's not bigger in the overall music industry or reggae scene. Maybe because he's also a humble person and just not really so much about the
Marketing
fame.
and fame.
Yeah, you know. So that was great to be around him, to be honest.
Yeah. Any hip hop reggae? Like so for hip hop?
Oh,
reggae?
okay.
Hip-hop.
Hip hop stuff. Let's see. The biggest the biggest show that I was involved in was with some business partners. Is when we took Wu-Tang to Auckland,
Wow.
and that was at the Trust's Arena. So we had a local partner that actually ran the actual event. But we took them. So they were doing the Opera House shows. There were 4 shows at the Opera House, and that was the whole Wu-Tang Clan, even with Method Man, which is very lucky, but also quite stressful because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, what is it like with the American artists? Say they bring their whole posse and
it's
how does it work with
barbers
them?
and chefs and
really?
and everything. And each of the Wu-Tang members have their own manager as well, and then they have an agent that looks after the entire Wu-Tang Clan, and it's it was an experience. Probably not keen to necessarily do it all again, but it was definitely a great experience.
Yeah.
And
is it because profitability is not there, or is it just too much?
It was just a bit stressful, you know.
Yeah.
But look, you know what? That's me. I have a fairly low tolerance. I mean, if anyone that tours major artists, you know, they were like, "What? That's nothing." You know, try to deal with Kanye West or try and deal with, I don't know, Busta Rhymes. I'm sure it's
difficult.
worse. I can imagine. I'm not sure, but let's see. Another group that I'm a big fan of, and I really enjoyed their show in Sydney was Slum Village. It's a group from Detroit. Jay Dilla, JD was their producer. You know, rest in peace, JD. That was a show that I really. But there's a lot, man.
Yeah. So how many tours would you do in a year, say?
Look, it's been since COVID. Definitely we slowed down, and that's mainly because of. Just risk management. I work with mostly with one business partner, Trent from Slingshot. Pointing at the camera as if he lives in there. So if you're watching this, Trent,
he's in there.
Big up yourself. Trent has been a pioneer in hip hop tours in this country for 30 plus years. So I just do a few things with him, but he's the godfather of that sort of independent hip hop touring stuff, you know. So maybe three to 4 per year, approximately. Tours,
you know. And how much planning goes into those tours? Like how much time of the year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it depends how extensive the tour. We try and do Australia, New Zealand. You know, like combine them. So maybe 6 shows, 7 shows, maybe. Depends whether it's just us doing it or whether we have other partners, whether we sell the shows or do them all ourselves. So, a few months per show. Per tour.
You mentioned there like some of the big names in the industry, in the groups. How does like a young DJ, I guess, looking into getting into this for the longevity of it, what would they need? Yeah, obviously it's easy access to all the equipment and everything like that. But also the other side of the industry.
That's look, Izzy, what you're alluding to is a really important thing I wanted to mention here, and I always ramble on about this. You have to think of any industry, especially music industry, like an iceberg. Okay, so we see the tip of the iceberg. We see the artist, the singer, the performer on stage, the DJ, the person, the face of it. But underneath that person is a huge amount, the iceberg, the body of the iceberg, from the manager, the agent, the vocal coach, if you are a singer, maybe the personal trainer, maybe the makeup artist, maybe the road manager, maybe the list goes on, right? So, the studio behind it, marketing people, etc., sponsors. So there are hundreds, maybe thousands of individuals that work to make the magic happen. And I would encourage any young person, especially interested in the entertainment industry, to not just focus on wanting to be that 0.01% on the top of the iceberg, which is great when you're there, but guess what? Only a few get up there and very few stay up there. But you can have a few notches down. You can be an agent, a manager, tour manager, you can be so many different professions in the music industry or in entertainment for life, forever. Running podcasts, doing radio shows, have a studio, maybe be an engineer. I mean, you name it, so many different things. Supporting the artist, making it happen. Maybe you work for a label, maybe you work for a gaffer, a production company or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of avenue. Like if you're passionate about the industry
That's
and being a creative, there's a lot of other
100%.
professions that you can do to be in there. Yeah.
So you don't have to be the artist. You don't have to be the person on stage. I mean, it's great to have that ambition and maybe give it a shot for a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. But just saying that you can have a very sustainable and satisfying career, not necessarily being the person on the stage.
I think how George was saying, have two plan A's. Have two plan A's. So can be the artist and also supporter.
Well, 100%, Well, you got to know both sides of it, Yes,
right.
of course, the creative side, but you need to know the business side of.
And that's the other thing. Unfortunately, or maybe not, it is just not enough for an artist these days to be just the artist. You have to be apparently a content creator and a marketing expert and an accountant or a bookkeeper. I mean, you don't have to be, of course, but it's highly advisable that you at least get your head around the very basics of running a small business.
Yeah.
If you say, I'm bad with numbers, I don't want to do, bookkeeping or anything, okay, that's cool. But if you don't know anything and have no interest, then someone can easily mess around, make mistakes, take advantage of you and so forth, So again, it comes back to the education. Do a small business course, talk to a mentor, get some experience working maybe at a label or at a touring company. There's some really at a venue, at Century Venues or Frontier Touring and whatever, just volunteer to work at one of the big festivals. Get involved, engage with the industry and with the community.
So what were you doing? Are you at council? You're doing you deliver an educational program at the moment. So can you just tell us?
So basically, this is a free course. Funded by the City of Sydney.
Nice.
Yes, very nice to us. This is at the Redfern Community Centre. So it's free to join. And there I teach a small business course called Be Your Own Boss. It goes for 7 weeks. And we cover just the basics, If you want to register a business, what structures are there, the basics of invoicing, very basic ideas, bookkeeping, very, very basic, but a lot about branding, about marketing, how to develop personal brand, how to use many resources that are there basically free or virtually free. And that course is there. And I also teach a 10-week DJ course for beginners.
That's great, man.
Which takes you through the whole process.
And everyone wants to be a DJ. No one wants to be a business owner.
So the business course gets about 10 to 12 students, and the DJ course 30 plus. So we have to cap it at 25 or something. But I have to say one thing. Not everyone that does the DJ course wants to be a professional DJ. In fact, a minority only. It's more that people want to engage with music, A lot of people are in careers or we have a business that is where they feel like they haven't got a creative outlet of sorts. And so just like someone playing the piano or doing maybe some other painting or something, for them it's like, hey, I always love music. I want to get to know DJ. And with DJing, you can get something going quickly. If you play the guitar, it takes a long time to make it sound good. DJing, you load up some songs, press play, you can do a little mix. Within a few weeks, you can do something. And it's a great way to introduce someone to the basics of music, the basic concepts of music theory and structure of songs, very, very basic stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah, you were saying only a small percentage make it to the top. Do you have like a statistic maybe of in terms of artists like in the industry?
So I've definitely taught some DJs that are now more or less full-time out there. It I don't have the exact numbers because
but it's a
I've been
tiny
teaching them
percentage,
so like for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So because I was also at AIM for 10 years. So I'm not sure, to be honest. But it would be similar to AIM, the Australian Institute for Music, or JMC, or any of these music schools. I would be interested to see their numbers, which they may not publicize. How many people who study composition or songwriting or whatever it is to then actually become full-time musicians? I don't know. Probably not as many, because there simply isn't, like I mentioned, there isn't enough space at the top, so to speak. But you can be a session musician. You can write ads. You can produce ads, do some really creative, interesting things that also can sustain hopefully.
What's an average salary for a DJ?
0 to $1 million.
Yeah, okay,
I'm sorry.
really? Yeah, no, okay, yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
It is very. It really varies. I'm so
Very
sorry.
lumpy.
Very lumpy.
It is the lumpiest, man. It is like King Lumpy.
Yeah, Nick. So just from your perspective, Nick, where do you see opportunities for Pacific Islanders in terms of music and promoter or events, or in this industry? Where do you see opportunities for people from our community? Because I guess you've had a lot of dealings with us, and
I mean, it's. I think there's always opportunities. It's more about, again, finding that angle. How do you give value to your customers? That's such a generic.
No, but
Gary
so
V
true.
Gary V
It's so
thing,
true.
But it is kind of true,
Yeah.
So I think that it's about really engaging with whatever topic or subject that you want to find out more. You got to really delve into it, really engage with it as much as you can. I don't have I couldn't tell you specifically what those opportunities might be, but I know that they're out there. It's also about having the conviction, maybe confidence of sorts, to go, okay, these are all the things that exist, but I'm gonna come in and do something a little different. I'm gonna do a slight variation on the known theme. At some point, for example, I don't know when, maybe 25, 30 years ago, there were virtually no Thai restaurants in Sydney, right? Australians were like, I don't know, what is Thai food? And then someone at some point opened up the first one, and then the second, and then the 500th one, because now there's about 20,000 in Sydney, maybe too many. But the point is, it's difficult to be a pioneer. It's difficult to be the first one of anything. But maybe that's where the real payoff lies. So so there's R&B clubs, and there's whatever, dance music, and there's this and that. But I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna just create something that's still relevant, of course, but just different. Remember, every genre of music, whether it's rock and roll, whether it's reggae, house music, hip hop, it all started with a bunch of young kids somewhere in the suburbs or in the garage, just jamming, just having, what is this? This sounds great. Just rhyming over an old record, an old James Brown record. That's not, it's hip hop, or just copying or getting inspired by American soul and making it in Jamaican. That's reggae now, ska. So it's about trying to figure out something that maybe is new that you can bring to the market. That's really hard. I know that's really hard. That's really hard.
Well, like drill rap, I think in the last 10 years, right? So that will be an example, right?
Very good example.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that this British UK style of rap resonated with kids in the western suburbs here? They took that, stylistically made it their own. Topically, what they talk about is now their own, and now the kids in the UK listen to them and go, "Oh, this sounds pretty fresh." I love it. That's freaking awesome. So that's a good example. You can't, you have the people that did it first. It was like super underground. No one listened to it. And you had to keep at it. You had to believe in it and just keep. It's not going to happen overnight. Whatever that is, it's not going to happen overnight. I give you one quick example of big up to DJ Mr. C. So I know he's not from your community, but he is an example of a DJ who basically has so much passion and love for what he does, and has just used social media to his advantage, and especially just before COVID and then during COVID, consistently created amazing, engaging content, and got out there with his passion, his personality. He really just let his personality shine through, and now has built an amazing personal brand. Is now a content creator, much more than just a DJ, and does really amazing things. Do you know what I mean?
I came across him on YouTube before. I knew you knew him and Tui. I was like,
no, he's amazing. He's doing great stuff.
But he's put in the work, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%.
Yes,
Kept doing doing the videos, doing it, and every time deliver quality. You know, it was like every single piece he puts out, he puts his heart and soul into that.
Yeah, for sure.
To me, that's inspiring.
And like you said before, you know, he was using remixes to build the audience, to create, because I liked his mixes. So I started watching him for the mixes.
Right.
So what you said, I can resonate with now.
No, he was working hard, man. He was working hard at that time.
But he wasn't monetizing the mixes, but he was just using it to build, to attract us, you know, so it was really good.
And now he can do his own shows at the Oxford Art Factory, and he sells out those shows.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
so what you're saying is just...
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Well,
that's an example. Just we're looking at examples. So I'm not saying that someone should do exactly that, but you find your own voice and your own way, and especially from coming from the Pacific background, there are so many interesting cultural, unique cultural elements that one can bring, and many have brought.
In Fiji, man, there's a lot of musicians now, and the islands in general now. The music is huge, so they're starting to...
Exactly, and now now that technology has democratized access, you have artists that are, you know, on a very basic PC with a basic program can produce something pretty damn good sounding, upload it on YouTube or on SoundCloud. Someone picks it up in a Hawaiian radio station, and then it goes to Europe, and all of a sudden,
it's crazy.
There it is.
So they get royalties for that beat, is it?
If it's your own music, absolutely. Well, you would hope so. I mean,
how do you control that? Is it like you get
So in Australia, let's just talk about Australia, right? There is APRA, which is this is not the APRA that the banks use, but the Australian Performing Rights Association. So they look after the rights of songwriters, composers in Australia. And I would recommend any composer, any author, any songwriter to register with APRA and talk to them. They work for you. And so the way it works basically is they collect royalties on your behalf. So any venue that has that has live music or even radio and various other recorded music being played, they have to pay APRA fees or an APRA fee based on the capacity. And APRA collects all that. They also collect from radio stations and from big festivals and anywhere there's music being played, and they try to work out a fairly fair system to then collect money from all these different sources and then distribute that to the authors and songwriters. It's a bit,
how do you police that?
I know it's a bit complicated. There are for the bigger festivals, DJs, for example, will submit their playlists, and bands will submit their playlists, and so they can work out, that. It's not 100%, but especially if a large brand, like if Fiji Water wants to license Izzy's song for their next commercial, then that's a pretty straightforward kind of licensing deal. So yes, I don't know how it works in, say Fiji or Samoa, I'm not sure. But in Australia, New Zealand, the US, there are quite established structures in place to protect and to reward composers and songwriters for their work, and so they should be.
Just the difference between a producer. So, what does a producer do? So,
traditionally speaking, and again, it's a bit muddy nowadays because people use terms a bit interchangeably, but in the olden, say rock and roll era, the producer is really the person that puts it all together. you know, that often will write the arrangement, but will definitely put together, you know, the studio session, and will kind of like direct the recording.
Because you'd have
process.
different instruments, so
Correct.
you'd have to
That's right.
put them all together. Whereas
That's right.
now you've got
so that's
computers.
that's the
Yeah.
old school producer.
Yeah.
Today, when we say, "Oh, I'm a producer, I'm a hip hop producer,"
Yeah.
then that is usually the person that simply produces electronically on a digital workstation like Ableton or Logic. Produce the instrumentals, so all the music. He or she might get session musicians in,
Yeah.
but the producer is the person driving it and really the driving force behind the piece of music.
Yeah.
And so a DJ is a person that plays recorded music.
Yeah.
A producer is the person that produces said music. But of course, many DJs are also producers, and some producers are also DJs. But it's not exactly the same thing. And I know people use it as kind of the same, you know,
okay.
but it's not exactly the same. Yeah.
Do you produce any?
I used to. I used to. Not that successfully. It was it was fun,
Yeah.
but not anymore. So now I produce events.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
I used to listen to his music, and then I'll just be in the shower singing. So
I actually recorded that secretly.
what are some practical ways can artists and DJs create financial stability, such as diversifying the income streams, or building a business?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. Wow. It's. I think. Again, once again, so boring what I keep saying, is educating yourself and upskilling. Okay?
Yes.
So, upskilling meaning that, yes, you can DJ in a club and so forth, right? But maybe you want to upskill to be an event promoter as well. Okay, so you learn how to do that, how to use social media marketing, for example, you know, to market yourself as a DJ or your events, for example. There are again many other industry professions that you could get into. For example, event, not just the event management, but also venue management. For example, anything to do with your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have an interest in equipment, technology. Maybe maybe it's something that you want to become an audio engineer or live engineer. Maybe it's something that you're passionate about. I know some DJs who, through DJing, got really good at working with sound systems, equipment, then saved up, bought their own equipment, and started a sound hire company. And then from there they had a sound hire and a DJ agency.
Yeah.
So they would send out mobile DJ kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you have to be creative, I guess. Yeah.
So it's a tricky thing. So that's one angle of keeping your different sources of income within the entertainment industry. Or you could also, if you are interested in that, and if it doesn't confuse your brain too much, you could have your entertainment business over here and something completely different over there that is not related to entertainment. So that's what I've done, to be honest, and it's been it worked well for me, especially during COVID, where everything was closed down. So generally speaking, that's what some DJs, quite a few DJs, have been doing as well. So they will have their DJ business or their events business or whatever it is, and then they might have something totally different over here. It might be an education business. For me, it was teaching, right? It might be, could be anything really, So,
that's amazing, man, and congratulations to you for surviving that COVID period. That was tough. I heard a lot of musicians exited the industry, and so for you to survive, what you're saying is so important to have those different, maybe sources of income and
I think so.
And ideas.
I think so. And yes, it was difficult, and yes, not just musicians, but also engineers, live engineers, tour managers, people that I've known for years said, hey, look, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
They've become project managers, some corporate job, because they have to support their family.
Yes.
On the job keeper payments, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was quite bad for the industry. And by the way, that's another thing about, again, not trying to be negative, just being real here. that it has been difficult for the entertainment and hospitality industry because cost of living, as we all know, has increased a lot. So there's less disposable income, and when some people, maybe they go out twice a week, now they can only go out once a week, once every 2 weeks. So there's less money floating around in bars and clubs and
When you see it, man, it's quiet when you go out.
It is quiet. It is very, and there's more people in Sydney or in Australia than ever before, right?
Yeah.
Where are they? They all tucked away in bed by 10.
Virtual parties.
Yes, and another. I mean, look, there's actually many factors. So there's the income factor, but there's another factor, for example, that has been going on for obviously 15 years, and not just in Australia, also in the States. There's actual hard data on this, and that's the advent of dating apps. So ever since Tinder and everything else became so popular, people don't have to go out to meet someone. And so that has been, there's been a clear correlation between those two, you know. Another factor, sorry if I may continue, because another factor that's also measurable is that younger people, so 25 and under, are consuming less alcohol than any other generation, which of course is good for them. But not so good for the bars, pubs, clubs, and any other place. Because realistically, I mean, that sounds really negative, but the reason why there's DJs and bands in most cases is because the bar is selling alcohol. You ever notice that, hey, it's Sunday, our license ends at 10 or 12, so we have to close. They don't have to close. They just can't sell booze anymore. You know what I mean? They could have a DJ playing till 4 a.m. and sell orange juice, but they're not.
But I guess also, the regulations and everything with having a restaurant, you know, like what was your experience through?
That was lockout laws, in Sydney.
Lockout laws came in 2014. And that was another thing. Thank you.
There's so much.
That's another wonderful, terrible thing that happened. That definitely killed. Well, the purpose of this was to kill the King's Cross club scene fairly successfully, and now we have nice, fancy apartments, and because Sydney needs more apartments, so let's have more apartments, man. And so the lockout laws were another factor. Look, it's not all bleak and horrible because young people are creative, and so now you've seen a resurgence of warehouse parties, illegal warehouse parties. We don't support those, of course, but they exist apparently, so I've been told. And kids just like back in the day, take it in their own hands and just go, I'm going to get a sound system, I'm going to go to a warehouse. My buddy, my uncle, whatever, owns the warehouse. We're just going to keep playing until the cops come, and then they shut it down, and then they go. So I think creativity, I'm not suggesting you should do anything illegal, of course, but creativity should not be restricted in any way. Same with you sampling other people's music. Worry about that stuff later when you maybe sell it to someone. But in the creative process, just go nuts, just have fun. Create, be inspired. In my opinion.
And it's really, I mean, it's so expensive now also to have big events when you've got all the police and the security and everything that sort of added.
Don't even start. I mean, that's why so many other festivals have basically shut down.
So what's the go with that?
Drugs a big problem because of that as well, right? Because
I mean, definitely, it's an issue. I mean, that's how the police often justify their presence, and you have to pay for the police. You have to pay their wages.
As the event guys have to pay for it. Oh wow! Organizers
a lot.
Jeez.
So what are the numbers?
Too much.
What are the numbers with the police and like the attendance? So
it depends. It depends. So what happens is the police will make recommendations. It is a party full of Austrians. We need a lot of police. They just go nuts, those guys. They start swilling beer and doing some lederhosen dancing. I don't know. But it basically comes recommendations which you have to more or less accept. And then you have to pay wages. And of course, it's over the weekend, so it goes into Sunday rates. Fun times. But that's just how it is here. yeah, that's how it is. It's okay, but you know, that all sounds a bit too negative. I think if you want,
realistic.
I guess it's the truth.
It's realistic. Yeah.
I think that again, technology has empowered all of us. Doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak. To if you have something creative, something that connects with people from anywhere in the world, you can get it out there. Just I would encourage you to just start today. Don't delay. You know the expression, progress over perfection.
Yes.
That's a good expression, right? Yeah. It's like it'll never be perfect. When you start writing a song or do a mix as a DJ, it might never be perfect, but it's just good enough to get out, you know, and then see what happens. And people like it, great. Do more, do it again, you know. It's easy to have this negative self-talk. I mean, we have it, I have it, you know. It's not good enough, no one's going to listen. Stop it. Shut up.
Yeah.
Just get it out there. And then, you know, if no one likes it, I mean, I bet you Mr. C's first video had hardly any viewers.
Yeah.
And then the second one had a bit more, and the third one, and he kept going with it, and he kept improving them. That's what, you know, to me, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, what trends are you seeing in the music industry at the moment?
Oh man, I'm an old man. I don't know about new trends. See, to me, human nature doesn't change, right? So, songs, music that connects on an emotional level, because music is an emotional medium. I mean, not every song is, but a lot of it is. Songs that really, where you can feel the artist is really expressing themselves, like on it. It's really them. Now, forgive me if I can't pronounce this person's last name, but there's a very famous Hawaiian rendition of "Over the Rainbow" by a singer called Israel something, and I forgot his name. You may know of him.
I didn't.
It's a very.
He's a big boy, yeah.
No. "Over the Rainbow" by a very famous Hawaiian singer. Please, guys, forgive me. I don't know his name exactly. I heard it years ago, and honestly, the first time, I mean, anyone, you hear it and you're like, wow. There's something, and I'm talking about, forget the video, just hearing it. You don't know, anything about that person. Doesn't matter where it's from.
So not, America Got Talent? Was that what
No,
he was
not him. He's an older guy.
Okay. Yeah. It's a big name. Okay, Israel.
I love that version.
It's an amazing version, and that just popped to my mind because, again, this is a very famous song. It's been done many times. What are you gonna do with that song? What are you gonna? And he brought something like it's uniquely him. I don't know. I can't describe it. It's an amazing version, and I think with again trends, I think there'll always be things like the drill rap and all this kind of stuff. But I think if you write a great song, I think there's still room at the top for great songs. I'll give you an example. Bob Marley's compilation Legend, right? That everyone has. It's been at the top of the reggae charts, Billboard reggae charts, I think forever, like the last 50 years or something, right? Why is that? That's odd. I mean, why isn't there all new artists? Well, there are new artists, but I think there's something about Bob Marley's songs in particular that have a universal appeal and a staying power as well. Yeah. And I think that there are other artists too that can have this. It's just great songs at the end, that you can connect with.
Or Fiji, George Veikoso is one of those
100%.
Those songs never get old.
100%. I mean,
I've still been listening to the same one since I finished high school.
and 3 years ago or 4, I think it's before COVID actually, I was involved in booking some entertainment for the Rugby Sevens in Sydney. So I booked a South African band and a Kenyan DJ, a friend of mine, and someone else brought George Veikoso.
That was at the Sevens,
The Sevens, right? It was outside, it was a stage.
It was so hot that day.
It was a hot day.
And it was South Africa versus Fiji, I think.
In the grand final, yes.
It was an amazing, I don't know anything about rugby. What did it? Okay, but you know, I'm from Austria, man. We play soccer, grabbing the. Anyways, and so amazing vibe, and then you know when FIJI came on, everyone just ran to the stage. There wasn't enough room. It was like bursting at the seams. And in the front there were all these kids, like we're talking kids, 14-year-old kids, screaming the lyrics of his song, and the song was at least 25 years old.
Oh, sweet darling.
You know,
Still got it.
and it was like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is a timeless. Now I know not everyone can be like George Veikoso, of course not. But in terms of trends, I think that at the end of the day, if you can produce something that connects with people, a song, a beat, something, then you'll have success. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, as you said, 20 years, 25 years goes fast. You know, you're a young DJ. You're at the clubs every night, whatever. In terms of home ownership, like, so, you know, how important is it for a creative artist, like with lumpy income, to sort of, you know, think about home ownership and start planning, like, so.
I mean, look, that's actually a really big topic. I don't know how much time you have on this, because where I come from, so in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, home ownership rates are way below they're here, much below. In Switzerland, it's the lowest in Europe, under 50%, maybe 45%, which is shocking to anyone from the New World. The New World is being US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. I've never met a country that is as obsessed with real estate as Australians. It's amazing. That's not a bad thing. Because it has clearly proven over many years that it is one of the safest and simplest way to create generational wealth through real estate. Buying your own home, pay it off, that's it, right? If you look at the US, the income disparity between African Americans and all other Americans, the income disparity is now very small. There's not huge this difference between income, but the wealth disparity is still huge between African Americans, much lower, and Caucasian or Asian Americans. Why is that? It's because traditionally African Americans were victims of what's called redlining, which is a racist policy in most American cities, where the best areas were inaccessible for African Americans, both renting and purchasing. And it's you can look it up. It's quite a sad story. I don't want to be too much of a downer. But therefore, because of this exclusion of having access to home ownership, you have this disparity in wealth in that as an example. So I think, although where I come from, we have a different attitude towards real estate. It's not as important because renters have much more rights over there. We have 10-year leases. You can paint your bathroom. You don't have to ask for permission.
Wow.
It's a very different culture. So I think in this country here, I would say it is obviously not easy. It was never easy to buy real estate. I mean, otherwise everyone would have one, right? But the home ownership rates are still quite high, 68, 67% in this country. So that's a general statement. I think it is, of course, very difficult not having a, regular salary. I mean, you as a mortgage broker, you have to deal with that, I'm sure, very often, self-employed and so forth. But I actually think that if you're, again, creative, if you pool your resources, maybe mom and dad, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But if you really put your mind behind it, if you really try, maybe start with a small property somewhere, maybe something that's not your, not on a beautiful beachfront in Bondi. I know,
where you DJ every week.
Maybe some little 2-bedroom unit somewhere over here, far away, and then you pay that down. So I think again, education is super important, and having people around you that can guide you a little bit, so mentors of sorts, and people that that can help you cut through all the mis and disinformation, because there's so much of that.
Yeah, there's
around.
too much, man.
Man, it's scary.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So I would say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, that's great. That was interesting about Austria. I want to go to Austria now. When you told me about home ownership, I have a look at how they're doing it.
It's very. It's because
Is that everywhere in?
So
I mean-
it's mainly because the tenants have more rights.
Yeah,
There are some tax incentives,
yeah,
but it's not as advantageous as it is here. You know.
yeah.
Of course, there are landlords, of course.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more social housing.
Yeah,
so I
they're
think
starting to adopt the model here now.
So
So
I think what Australia maybe can take from some of these cities in Europe is the social housing aspect, you know.
Yeah.
So I do think, I mean, every day. Correct me if I'm maybe wrong, but I seem to see news stories every day about no one can afford to buy a house in Sydney. It literally says now.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
99% of
Fear mongering is the media.
so it says 99% of houses are now, or something, 95% are unaffordable for the average income earner. Yet houses are being bought every day.
The rich guy, the rich guy.
But not every. So how does it? You know.
Then you don't listen to the news that.
Exactly.
TV off.
That's what I mean.
Just focus on yourself.
That's what I mean. So it's basically, we need to cut through that kind of misinformation or disinformation, and it's important that you surround yourself with, I guess, a diverse group of people. And if you're really, really interested in, say, for example, investing or in real estate, or go out to some meetups, maybe. Go out, and there's a lot of different networking events, both virtual and in real life, that helped me in the past, for example.
Yeah, that's what we often talk about. For us, it's difficult to find mentors, and then so these kind of ideas are good.
It is. Look, a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be a person that you know. It could be maybe you read someone's book, even someone who's already passed away. If someone is interested in investing in general, this is not just real estate, but any kind of stock investing. There's a book called The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham. Now, this person has passed away a while back, but he can become your mentor if you read his book and go, okay, that makes sense. That's interesting. I think really, again, diving deep into the topic and spending time with it, and just okay, I'm going to take my time, and having realistic expectations. I think in business as well as in finance or your own financial journey, we often overestimate how soon we should be successful. Like, the next year I want to be doing this and that, but we underestimate how far we can go if we only stick with it. So we kind of like impatient in the short term, but then we might be surprised. Oh wow! Like with again Mr. C, I'll keep bringing him up. In the beginning, he may have thought, oh wow, I don't get that many viewers, this and that, but only 2-3 years later. Everyone I mentioned
as a kid, 2-3 years, we hadn't looked that far. We're looking only 2 weeks later, we won 100,000 views. So I guess I understand what you're saying. Put in the work is very, very important, and that's one of the key things I'm getting out of this. Just put in the work, guys. You gotta put in the work.
That's how it is. But you can also make it fun in a way. You can. It's about changing your mindset. I know, again, this is cliche, freaking grind set, blah blah blah. I'm not into any of this stuff, but it's really about just going, thinking about how can I really enjoy doing this stuff that actually is a bit painful. Like, I used to hate doing spreadsheets, for example. My taxes, I used to hate it. Oh my God, kill me now. But then eventually, I tried my best to go, you know what, that is actually empowering me to be in charge of my business. I need to know income and expenses and what's happening, and profit margins and all this kind of stuff, And once you kind of go, hey, this is a great tool. It's just a tool. It's just a language, math and stuff. It's just a language for me to understand my business better. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm not going to go out easy. I'm going to go back to some spreadsheets.
What are you working on at the moment?
Right now,
for the future?
Well, funny enough, we're actually planning a couple of tours for next year. Nothing confirmed yet, so
Yes.
I can't divulge what that might be.
Oh, yeah.
But it's sort of like legacy hip hop acts, like not as big as Wu-Tang, I don't think, but fairly, prolific acts
Yeah.
Yep.
for next year. Hopefully that'll work. Still working on my club events, doing these Caribbean parties, which is really fun.
What are they?
One is called Ting-a-Ling, which is once a month at the Lord Gladstone Hotel in Chippendale.
Yep.
Nice.
It's just a fun community sort of vibe, And then the other one is called Dutty Dancing, which is currently we're doing boat parties on Glass Island.
Yeah.
Also do club events, That's more sort of Afro beats and Caribbean music.
Yeah.
Where are the clubs these days?
They're tingling and dirty dancing. That's where they are.
I mean, there are. Yeah. Of course, you're more than welcome anytime you want to pop in. Let us know. So yeah, those and some other things, but
Nice.
yeah. But look, I think that what is needed, if I may just as a summary, is exactly what you're doing, and that is the demystification of a lot of this kind of finance and business, and it all sounds a bit scary. And I think there is a reason why the finance industry has developed this jargon, a language of their own. Like what's your ROI and the P&L and and there's a reason. There's the simple principles of investing, for example, or finance. They're actually very basic ideas. They're nothing that complicated, but they are being presented as such a convoluted, complicated thing because now you're relying on a fund manager, on a financial planner, on someone that's going to do it all for you because you're just too stupid to do it. No.
Yeah, man. I really like what you say. Man. Yeah.
So it's, again, democratizing access.
Yes.
And I think what you're doing here is part of that, It's like, you know what? It's not that complicated. It's not that scary. It's not that weird. It's just something that once you step into it, it's like a new language.
Yeah.
At first, it's like, and then, you become more fluent, and then it's second nature. It's amazing, right? I mean, you've been working as a mortgage broker, right?
Yes.
So when you first started, you probably weren't aware of many of the concepts, right? And then it was like this door that went open.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, why do they explain it like this, man? They could have just told him it's easy. He only needs a 5% deposit. The repayments are going to be this month. Why are you saying all these big words to this guy? Just tell him simply,
And
so
the poor, exactly. So it's the opposite. What they're doing, it seems, is the opposite of empowering. Is listen, it's taken away power. It's like treating you like a child.
Yeah.
I mean, let me just do that for you.
Yeah. But I think back in the day, it's changed a lot now. They've regulated the financial industry a lot, so there's a lot more transparency, which is good. But I think back in the day, it was like that, The older couple will have their retirement funds and they'll be taking a percentage and you don't know what the percentage is.
That makes me, honestly, that makes me so angry.
Yeah.
And when there's a website, you can look it up. You can look up all the largest financial institutions and how much they've been fined over the last 20 years. It's hundreds of billions of dollars for lack of transparency, collusion, securities fraud. I mean, major crimes. And guess what? No one ever goes to jail. But a little mortgage broker does some dodgy whatever over here. Oh, they get fined and they get... But the author, no, it's Bank of America. We just pay like $2 billion fine.
And better not.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, during the GFC, the GFC, it was greedy bankers and fund managers caused, I don't know, millions of people to lose their homes.
100%.
And I think one person in Europe went to jail. What?
The Wolf of Wall Street went to jail.
You know what I mean? Like, how is that even... Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, brother, for next year, your community financial literacy course, when's that?
Yes. So we're starting all the courses start again in Feb, and the best way to stay connected is via Eventbrite. So I'm not sure. Maybe you can put the link in the description.
We will.
Which is Last Minute Productions. They offer these courses in Redfern, and like I said, they're free. They're usually on a Tuesday or Thursday evening from 6 to 8.
Beautiful. Well, man, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, Nick, and someone like with your accolades and the type of artists that you've brought in and to inspire a bit of our audience, I think it's amazing, and thank you for being humble enough to come on the show and share your wisdom, mate. It's very appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It was great, and good luck with it.
Yep. Thank you, Nick. And I'm sure we'll have
Do
you
it
back
again.
on sometime. Yeah. Thank you.
100%.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.